Wondering how to fall completely in love with the people and things that surround you at home? I've spent the last 15 years studying how and where families thrive and what relational and house characteristics ignite us with that homey feeling. On this podcast, we uncover how our brains process the people we live with and the houses we live in so we can confidently create our homes to be wonder-filled connection magnets. Ready to give up the decision fatigue, comparison hives, overwhelm ulcers, and confusion chaos? You are in the right place. I'm your host, Carly Thornock. Welcome to Becoming Home. What is up, homies? I'm so glad that you are here. Today, we're going to be talking about how to work with aligned experts. So in the realm of home, this could be anybody from your builder to your architect, to your home design team, to a tile installer, anybody. There might come a time where you feel like you need an expert. I believe that we all have inside of us the creative capacity to create our dream homes. I think you know it. I think there's so much more that you know than you know, right? But even when you are tapped into what your dream home looks like and you're able to create that from a place of abundance and love and all the wonderful things, there's probably going to come a time where you want to hire out an executed task, right? So you don't want to do it with your own two hands all the time, every time. Maybe you want to hire somebody to pour your concrete or put in a backsplash or do the framing on your walls or the drywall or your roofing or your cabinet making or some welding or the ironwork or anything at all. There probably will come a time when you want to engage with expert artisans and expert contractors, right? And that's wonderful. So in this world where YouTube is the most wonderful thing ever, and anyone could possibly be an expert, right? The lack of knowledge is not a problem in our world. We want to be able to pick an expert who is actually good at what they say they're going to do. And how do we do that? And more than just being proficient in their craft, how do we choose experts that are a fit with our personality, with our values, who will make the job a pleasure to be working with? Now, there comes a time with all of my clients when they've been building their houses where they're like, my contractor's driving me crazy. My builder, they're so late. It's expensive. They blah, 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 right? Like there's always a time where whoever you work with, I mean, let's talk about marriage. Let's talk about any friendship. In any relationship, there's always a time where you're like, this is not going to work. So we want to build in that little buffer of nobody's going to be perfect. And that's totally fine. But also, if we are going out of the gates with this idea that we are the owners of our house, we are intentionally setting up a situation for ourselves and our family members to thrive in. We have a vision that we're going to hold fast to, but we also want to have trusted employees for lack of a better term, but actually that's what they are. We want this to be in alignment. If that's what we're seeking from the get-go, we can totally find it. So my favorite expert that I have ever hired, trying to think if this is true, I can confidently say the favorite expert that I've ever hired is my doula. So while this is not a home expert necessarily, we'll get to that in a second. There was a time when I was birthing children, 3 of them. And I hadn't done it before with my first one. I wanted to do hypnobabies birthing, which I love, by the way, unsolicited endorsement, hands down. I just love hypnobabies. But I also had a sweet husband who was very sick. And I knew that I could not rely on him to be my birth partner just because he sometimes couldn't get out of bed. And during our birthing classes, there's actually one time where we went to birthing class. I think there was like 6 weeks of 2 hours each week training. And one of the times he opted to get a root canal instead of coming with me to birth class. It's fine. We laugh about it today. But I decided to hire a doula. And I've probably talked about her before because I just love her. I call her Miracle Miranda. She's so wonderful. I love her. Like I feel like some people set the dinner table and save a space for Elijah for Easter. And I set the table for Miracle Miranda. She is so wonderful. And what made her so wonderful? She knew what I needed. She got it done and she was there for me no matter what. I just loved her. And there were a lot of doulas But I wanted to share with you this process that I went through to hire this doula that made the whole experience amazing. Now, my doula has seen me in probably like my worst, maybe, and my best. I feel like childbirth is both. What a beautiful experience. I am this huge fan of birth. I could talk about it for hours and years, but I digress. When we're doing birth and when we're doing our houses, it's so vulnerable. I think a handful, less than a handful, myself included, of people have seen me buck naked, right? Miracle Miranda is up there. Like the people that we want to trust with our very vulnerability, childbirth and house building, to me, they feel the same. So when we're talking about who's going to help us find our house, like our real estate agent, who's going to help us build our house, who's going to help us design our house, it's a pretty vulnerable place. You want to do your homework. You want to make sure that you choose intentionally. And while budget is a factor, I want to encourage you to not let budget be the whole entire picture, because in those vulnerable, beautiful, super close to your heart moments, you're going to want the best person there for you, not necessarily the cheapest. Am I right? So let's go through these steps. There are 5 of them. And if you go through these steps, you'll be able to confidently hire a professional, whether it's an automotive professional or whether it's a home tile expert that you want to hire to help you in a specific place so that you know the job is done right, but you don't want to do it yourself. So the first thing you need to do is to get clear about what you need and how you want to engage. What I mean by this is you need to be very clear about what tasks you are sourcing out. Are you sourcing out somebody picking 3 selections of tile and then you come in and choose the final thing? Like, you need to communicate that. You need to be able to know that about yourself, that you want to make the final selection and you want them to give you 3 options. Awesome. That's super easy to hire out. I have a tile lady that does this for me in my company, and I love her. I will say to her, I have a client. We need subway tile. It needs to be either red, yellow, a mix of both, but for sure it needs to be hexagonal. Please go find me 6 choices. And she'll come back and bring them to me. And then I just say, that one I love. This one I think could be close. I'll take it to the client. And so then I don't have to be sorting through like tile catalogs like we're in 1956. I don't have to be going to all the tile shops or whatever. I could just show up, make a decision, and be done. I love the tile lady. I want you to know what you need so that you can be in a position to love your tile lady or whatever it is that you're doing. If you need concrete poured, be very specific about what you want. Ask for it, because the clearer you can get, the better of a job they can do. Be aware of how you want to engage, because sometimes you want to micromanage. Sometimes you want to be very involved in the process. This is me with all of my home stuff for my own self. I'm like always calling the draftsman and being like, so did that work? Tell me about how far away the toilet needs to be. Let's just like talk about it. I want to be part of this process. But there are other things where I just want them to take care of it. I don't want to know. I just want it to be done. Go build me a porch. Let's be done. Tell me how much it costs and I'll tell you what materials to do with. And then please just like, don't involve me. So be clear about how you want to engage and what you actually need and want. Rule number 2, listen to your body to find the right match. You could be scrolling through Thumbtack to find a professional. You could be looking at Google and going through reviews. You could be searching Instagram. You could be getting referrals from friends or looking up websites, whatever it is, however you're choosing to find your expert, listen to your body. Because this visceral reaction that we have to people is sometimes called our gut instinct, and often it's right. If you don't get a good vibe from somebody, or if you just don't like the way that they appear or are or whatever, is that judgmental? Yes. But right now you're making a judgment call. The purpose here is to judge and to make a choice. So trust your gut instinct to vet and to narrow down the pool of potential applicants. Third step is do a little research. So of course, you just don't want to go off your gut instinct. Somebody could have really good pictures taken and they could be completely fraudulent. So of course, look up reviews, see what work they've done before, maybe ask for pictures or ask to talk to a previous client. When people ask me that, I love to give them access to my previous clients if they agree, because my clients have a great experience. And so for me, for anybody who's a master of their craft, they will have clients in the past that can vet for them, right? And they can tell you how wonderful it was and why. And that's helpful. I think I did a podcast about this, but making great decisions only requires 40 to 70% of the information available. So don't think that when you're in research phase, you need to gather all of your facts, period, and you can't move on unless you have every single I dotted and T crossed. This is not the case. You just need to understand that they're legitimate, that they are a business and they do their taxes. I don't know if they pay their taxes, and they have actual clients who have gotten actual results, that they won't take your money and run away, all of that. Even I actually had somebody doing this with me, right? A client. And he said to me, so everything sounds great, but how do I know you're not just going to take my money and run to Mexico? And I was like, that is a great question. Well, first of all, buy with your credit card so you can just charge it back if I never show up. Second of all, you can talk to a previous client. Third of all, I can show you work that I've done before. Fourth of all, I'll give you my address and you can just come pick it up if you ever need your money back. And he was like, okay, right? Like, people want to be vetted, and it feels good when you have clients who are asking you the right questions. So don't ever be afraid to do a little research. And rule number 4 is right along these lines, and that is talk to them and ask them lots of questions. So get on the phone. Like, this is not a text. This is not a phone call to the receptionist. This is like setting up an appointment with the actual person, getting on the phone with them, seeing how you vibe together. This is a relationship, right? You're going to be paying them money, sure, but you don't want people in your home doing work for you you're going to live with every day of your life. If you have a weird vibe, you got to vibe them out, So have a list of questions, even if they're silly questions. And if they can be hard, at least a couple of them, that would be amazing. Like, try to work in a little bit of conflict if you can, to see how they respond, because inevitably, especially with these long-term relationships, like a builder or a general contractor, there's going to be conflict. 100% there will be. So you need to know how this person does conflict. This is like when you're dating and you need to date and go on a road trip and see them when they're super angry before you get committed, because that's going to be part of your life, right? So you just want to see and talk to and experience them in the flesh or on Zoom or like whatever it takes. Ask them hard questions, be together. Rule number 5, decide to trust them while always retaining ownership. So what this means is, if you're having somebody come in to do your cabinets or your countertops, give them your measurements, make sure they're great, have them come in and take the measurements, and then decide to trust them. Decide to trust yourself, that you're making a really great choice to trust this person who you've listened to your body about, you've done the research on, you've talked to, and you know that this is going to be great. And let them do their thing. Let them shine. Open up this space for them to create and to surpass your expectations. And this doesn't mean that we lay down and acquiesce. If things go wrong, you call them on it and you expect them to surpass your expectations. So if ever they don't, you just tell them that you're not there yet. And usually they'll fix it. So, because you know what, like, good people and people who want to stay in business, which may or may not be the same thing, they want to please you. They want to have a satisfied client. So always retain ownership, that you're the boss and that you are hiring them to do something you don't want to do. You're the boss. It's for you. It's for your house. It's your money. You're the boss. So show up with them with trust and with appreciation. But that's what being a good boss is. You're the boss. Retain that ownership. Don't ever think that they know your space better. Don't ever think that you can't ask the questions. Always ask whatever questions you have and retain ownership. So here's your invitation, you guys. Next time you need an expert, go through these 5 steps. Let's go through one more time. Get clear about what you need and how you want to engage. Listen to your body to find the right match. Do a little research. 40% is fine. Talk to them in person, ask lots of questions, and decide to trust them while retaining ownership. Do these things and then love your life. So good. Go make a mess, you guys. We'll talk to you next week. Hey, if you're loving what you're hearing and you want to know more, I invite you to go over to carlythornock.com and you can pick up a free guide. These are the 3 biggest mistakes that people make when setting up their houses. And I don't want you to make the same mistakes. And of course, in true Carly fashion, you know, it's going to be a lot less about the house and a lot more about your perspective about the house, but with some good housey tips thrown in. Go over to carlythornock.com and you can pick up that today.